Hello, Dr. Robert Farrell. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
We're delighted to have you here on this show. You know, speaking of the show, the title of the show asks a question, and the question is, are UFOs real? What do you think about that?
Definitely they are, and since I retired, I've been spending most of my time trying to convince the general populace that UFOs and ETs are real.
Why is it that you think it's so difficult for our scientific community to accept that these beings might be coming here and then be willing to actually speak out about that? The only one that I can think of that's recently done that was Dr. Stephen Hawking and of Cambridge, and he seems to be the only one who's made a relatively recent comment about that. What do you think is the issue here?
Well, first of all, I don't consider Hawking a ufologist. I mean, he may be a brilliant physicist, but I don't think that qualifies him to really comment on ufology. But I was in academia long enough to know and have talked to astronomers. If you ask an astronomer, do they think that there's other life out there, and almost 100% will say yes, there's got to be life out there. But if you say, okay, well then, if there's life out there, do you think they might be here visiting us and flying around in these magnificent machines? And 5% might say possibly, and the other 99% or 95% would say, no, I don't think so, because the distances are just too great. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the distances that's kind of messed up their mind. They've got to learn to think outside the box a little bit.
Don't you think that might be an issue with scientists in general, that they'll only go along, by and large, with the accepted scientific paradigm, and that changing that paradigm would be a major effort for the scientific community, as opposed to, let's say, the engineers who might be a little bit more open-minded about this?
That's probably true. I think they tend to get locked into conventional wisdom. That's what they do,
Yes.
They analyze things and prove everything, and so they're locked into conventional wisdom. And conventional wisdom says, well, if you want to go out into space, you build a rocket ship that uses chemical rocket or some other kind of impulse device. Maybe if you're really sophisticated, you might throw out ions as a means of creating an impulse force. And that's their thinking. And certainly with that kind of propulsion, we are limited. I don't think we're ever going to escape our solar system unless we go beyond that. We need a completely different approach, which is what the UFOs are using. And that's, yes. That's gravitational field propulsion. Mm-hmm. That is the only explanation that I can come up with that explains how UFOs have been able to be clocked at 100 G accelerations. Mm-hmm. And make near right angle turns. It's right. The only explanation.
I agree.
Yeah. So, and I'm not sure that a lot of scientists have thought that far.
Yes.
There are some, but I think most of them are just, like I said, they're locked into conventional wisdom with conventional rockets. They're off busy studying some other thing, and they might read about some rocket engineer who says, well, this is what we're going to need to go to Jupiter, and it's going to cost $1 billion, and it's going to be bigger than a mountain, that kind of thing.
Right. My contention is that there are two types of UFOs that are real solid objects, and that is that these are devices that are manufactured, or should we say fabricated, on other planets, in other parts of this galaxy, and maybe other galaxies as well. And then the second type of UFO, in my opinion, are the UFOs that we manufacture right here in California, and that they're manufactured by our three major aerospace companies under contract from the U.S. government. Now, what do you think of that theory?
Certainly possible. When I became convinced that UFOs use gravitational field propulsion, and I came to that conclusion maybe 20 years ago, as I approached retirement, my plan was to actually try and figure out how they do that. How do you create gravitational fields? And I visualized that I'd be studying more physics in order to find that out. I ended up getting distracted and being assigned a different mission, and that was to educate people on UFOs. So I didn't really get all the extra physics courses that I thought I might, but nevertheless, I'm learning about